A very happy Monday morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Beautiful day here in Sydney. Hope your weather's pretty good too. And even if it's not, I just hope you're having a fabulous day. It is glorious here in Sydney this morning. Absolutely sensational, I have to say. Again, another very a big flex for Sydney. I'm just not used to this type of weather. In winter. Growing up in New Zealand, you kind of just spent all your time focusing on how cold everything was, as opposed to how beautiful everything was. But it's a stunning day today here, and I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. A very good morning. I can see Sandra joining us this morning, and also Sarah, who's joining us over on YouTube as well, because we are coming to you live from both Facebook and YouTube. It is my morning podcast, my morning thoughts, and also my morning shares. And this morning is going to be a wonderful share with you guys, because we are going to do a real deep dive into sleep. One of I think the most highly underrated healthy things that we can do for our bodies on a daily basis. Absolutely underrated. In fact, we come from a society that is still very much in the belief that that sleep shows a certain weakness in character, that we should be working or being busy for as many moments of the day as possible, and that prioritizing our sleep is not necessarily something that we should be focusing on. And how does it even relate to being healthy, right? If sleep is just something you got to do at some point of the day. So we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into sleep today. It is one of my favorite 6 topics. I've only got 6. Now I've got lots more than that, but it's definitely one of my 6 topics, because when we talk about Boost Camp and the Boost Camp way of life, the BHK way of life as well, the lifestyle that we lead, the lifestyle that we promote, the lifestyle that makes sense. This is what we know about this lifestyle, is there are some pretty key components that make up the difference of whether we are in good health or whether we are just existing with poor health. And sleep is right up there. It's right up there. It's one of those key 6 components that will determine how well we age, how well we go into the next year, even if we don't consider ourselves to be old, which I definitely do not. I consider myself to be the age that I'm at, but it doesn't mean that I'm behaving the age that I'm at. Well, what society recommends or considers I should be behaving. I'm definitely not doing that. I'm not letting anyone beat my drum, quite frankly. So yes, we are talking about sleep and not just the health benefits, but I'm going to give you guys probably the most practical information I've ever been able to give on this topic of sleep. Practical, as in things that you can do that will improve your sleep. And it's not me guessing my way through it. And it's not me assuming and hoping and crossing my fingers like, oh, this might work. Now, I've got the science. I've got the science, baby. I can back it up. And that's really important, that we're able to back up. So they're not just, claims that I'm making to the universe and hoping for the best. Everything that I share with you guys, especially during these morning podcasts, especially now, when it's the sharing of knowledge, right? It's the sharing of information. I want to make sure that information is relevant and it's up to date. It's backed in science, and it's not just my opinion on how things work. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys the science on what is going to be practical steps that you can take, especially if you're someone who has struggled in the area of sleep. And what does that mean for someone who's struggling? I'm not just talking about, the obvious insomnia, but, struggling to stay asleep, not being able to feel well rested once you wake up. There's all these elements to sleep that will determine whether we consider ourselves to be a good sleeper or a poor sleeper. So we're going to discuss a little bit of that today, which is very exciting. Also going to just fill you guys in on what was just a fabulous weekend that I had. I got to spend just over 24 hours in Queensland, in Brisbane, and how amazing that was. So just want to give you guys a bit of an update. So yeah, I got to go to Brisbane. It was a very short but extremely sweet trip. And the reason it was so sweet was that I had the opportunity. Well, I created the opportunity, actually. I didn't have the opportunity. I created an opportunity to catch up with some of our BHK community who are based in the Sunshine State, so in Queensland. And there wasn't a lot of sunshine happening in Queensland while I was there. It was apparently the Queenslanders were telling me it was freezing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this just muggy, or is this my menopause?" And then, like, it was warm. Compared with obviously where I call home, which is Sydney. So Sydney is beautiful and blue skies, but very crisp. And for other New South Welsh people, I know you guys are getting some minuses and some frosts happening on very chilly mornings. So it was warm up in Queensland. Well, for me it was, but it was a bit rainy, but didn't matter. It didn't matter. It could have been, okay, maybe a hurricane would have mattered, but it could have been a storm. It could have been lightning and thunder, and we still would have had an amazing morning. So to every single person that joined me for brunch with Bridge under the bridge, and we were literally under a bridge. I wish I knew what the name of that bridge was. It's a beautiful bridge going across the river there in Brisbane and right in the middle of the CBD. Stunning. I don't know what the name of the bridge was. It was beautiful, but we had an amazing brunch. There was a nice big table of us. We got to do many of the things that fit in with those 6 elements of health, which was really cool when I think about it, right? So firstly, we were in an establishment. I purposely picked an establishment that had fairly similar aligned principles as the BHK lifestyle. So, there was lots of plants on offer on the menu. They have a philosophy of local produce. So they source their produce from local suppliers. So they've got this kind of farm to plate, ethos about their menu. The menu wasn't huge and overwhelming. It was quite small and concise. And it was fairly delicious. Look, I wouldn't put it in my most amazing brunches I've ever had food wise, but it did what it says it was going to do, which was there was lots of options to get beautiful sides of mushrooms and roasted tomatoes, and there was Moreton Bay bug, and I called in advance, and their salmon was naturally smoked, and so it was ticking a few of my boxes. Eggs any way you want, like your typical brunch fare. I have to say that the staff were lovely; they were amazing. So we had a really, really cool nutritional moment. There was also lots of water on tap, which was fantastic. So water was ticked off. I mean, I myself wasn't as well rested as I'd hoped I would be, but there was definitely a stress-free element about our morning. We were very relaxed. We were having a good time. There was lots of laughter. There was lots of community, which is, again, another really important part of the Boost Camp lifestyle, right? There was this moment of community get together, which Storybridge, thank you, Debbie, the Storybridge. I thought it was. I did think it was a Storybridge. I just wanted to double check the Storybridge. Absolutely beautiful. Even more beautiful at night, I have to say, the Storybridge. So it was a great moment just to get together and to meet some of the community for the first time. Also catch up with old friends, which was just amazing. And begin to make plans with each other as a community, as a support network for each other. So really great morning. Got to do more of these around Australia. Absolutely have to do more of these. So everyone who turned up, thank you. It was spectacular. Now, before we get into our main topic for today, which we are talking about sleep, of course, I just want to say a good morning to a few people that were actually there. So we had the gorgeous Sandra Kemp turned up with her amazing husband. So I got to not just meet Sandra in the flesh, but I also got to meet Sandra's amazing husband, who turns out is the chef in the family. So Sandra's a lucky lady. Indeed. It was great to see you, Sandra. Also, can I say a good morning to Cheryl, who's joining us as well, to Vicky joining us, another lovely lady that was there in the flesh was this beautiful lady here, Josephine. Josephine and I, we actually got together and we were doing a one-on-one nutritional session, me and Josephine, and we came up with the idea of coming to Queensland for a brunch or for a get-together. It all kind of happened during that chat that we had. So you just never know what's on the cards. So Josephine was there. She also bought us all treats. So she sent us all home with gifts, which was amazing, from her son's cafe that is based there in Brisbane as well. So thank you so much for those gorgeous treats. Italian little pastries, little sweet treats that Josephine gave for all of us. Amazing, amazing. So it's great to see you, Josephine, as well. Also, can I say good morning to Sarah? Good morning to Tony. Good morning to Ruth. I can see the beautiful Tracy who's joining us as well. Another lovely lady that was there. Debbie was there too. My first time meeting Debbie, which was wonderful. And getting to spend some time with you. I wish I had more opportunity to chat, Debbie. I was down the other end of the table, so I didn't get as much opportunity to chat with Debbie as I would have liked, but I did manage to get around to every single person, which was so absolutely fantastic. So good morning to Carol joining us as well, and to Linda, Anita. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are well. And Ruth, I see you there too, my love. So yeah, just a fabulous moment to get together. And like I was saying, these are some of the key components of a holistic approach to our health, right? We've got to look after our nutrition. We know that. And we also know that nutrition is one of the more important areas that we can look after, because when our nutrition is right, and I think I had this conversation with a few people there at the brunch. We're talking about, when you change your diet, everything changes. And it couldn't be more true when it came to like my own journey, is that prior to, changing my diet, I was a shadow of the person that you have all come to know, whether it's meeting me in person, whether it's consuming my recipes, whether it's doing a boost camp, whether it's joining me on these live podcasts of the morning, whether it's doing cooking classes with me, whether it's doing retreats with me. Like, none of that, not one single one of those things would have happened if I didn't take the first step, which was changing the way or the relationship that I have with food. So I changed my diet, and everything has changed. It is almost a complete rebirth of myself. And it's a better version of myself, even prior to me becoming quite unhealthy and carrying quite a lot of excessive weight. It is a rebirth. Because when I think about even myself growing up when I was younger, I was still struggling with mental health, and now knowing what I know about nutrition, knowing what I know about drinking enough of the good stuff, knowing what I know about getting enough sleep, knowing what I know about getting movement and having stress management techniques, and knowing what I know about sharing with a community, like having a village of people around me. I've got a village in my house. It's literally a village in my house. I have a village at work, and then I have you guys as my village as well. Because we are quite isolated here in Sydney. We don't have any immediate family that we have around us in Sydney. We have distant relatives that we didn't really grow up with, but they still are our family. All of our immediate family are still back in New Zealand. For Mahé, they're also in Tonga. We've got immediate family in the US. So we're kind of separated from, especially those who we grew up with. So we're quite isolated. So it's important for us to have that feeling of community and a village, which I have with you guys. And it's one of the reasons why I love coming on and chatting with you guys, and seeing so many people that I now consider to be friends. So having that meetup on Saturday morning, there were people there that I felt were friends, almost part of my family, right? And there are people in BHK that I consider family. I've known them since, it feels like forever. And we cry together, and we grieve together, and we celebrate together, and we laugh, and we be honest. And it's all the things you would expect to do with your family. So that village atmosphere, that community spirit, it's one of those holistic pillars that, again, is quite often overlooked as we go to more of an isolation type society, where we isolate ourselves away from people, and rather than embracing our neighbors, whether our neighbors are our online neighbors, which obviously you guys are for me, and for my family, and for my little community, but also our neighbors around us as well. So it feels pretty good to come back and be on that high from meeting the community, and feeling like our village just continues to grow, and it's growing in a beautiful way. So it was quite fantastic. But part of those pillars of health, those towers that will determine our longevity, it will determine our wellness, it will determine, even to a certain degree, our mental health, and just how the place where we feel in the world, the place where we feel at our best. And for me personally, in that journey that I was on, is that changing my diet changed everything. And along with that change of diet, my relationship with other areas in my life have dramatically changed. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Yes, I am a very proud Gen Xer. And growing up in the 70s and the 80s, and I started working in the 80s. Started, to have my first job when I was 14 years. Well, it was my first official job outside of, I used to mow the lawn. I used to mow lawns around the neighborhood and get paid for that. This was at 11. I was speaking to a neighbor of who used to live down the other end of our street, and we were quite we're a double-ended cul-de-sac, so used to get up to a lot of mischief in that street. I tell you what, and we were right next to the most amazing park. It was just the perfect place to grow up. Like, apparently I lived in the poorest neighborhood, but I didn't know. I was just having a great childhood. And so I was talking to one of my neighbors who about the same age as me. I think she's a year younger, but she lived on the other end of our double-ended cul-de-sac, which we used to have friendly wars against all the time. And she was telling me that I used to host a lot of garage sales. And I had completely forgotten that I've been quite entrepreneurial for a very long time. But my first official job, when I wasn't hosting or having garage sales, basically selling my brothers and sisters stuff. When she mentioned it, I was like, oh, yeah, pretty sure I would go around going, you don't want this anymore, right? You don't need this. And I would take it outside and whack a price on it and sell it. Like, yeah, I didn't have lemonade stands. I used to sell fruit that I picked off our trees. I used to sell fruit that I picked off the neighbors' trees as well. I'd ask permission to do it, and they would always say, "Yeah, sure, help yourself," because big friendly, back in the 70s and the 80s, big friendly community. But yeah, my first official job where I had to give someone a tax number, I was 14 years old, working in a restaurant, and I've been to that way of thinking and brought up within that generation where sleep was for the weak. And we would look up to people who would be like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That was such a common saying, wasn't it? I'll sleep when I'm dead, because it was glorified. Lack of sleep or being able to work. So that was me just opening my bottle. Being able to work as many hours as possible was glorified, would put that sort of person, that sort of behavior on a pedestal. Like, I'll put up there, oh yeah, wow, that's amazing, look at you. What, you can live on 5 hours sleep a night, you're a machine. And yeah, that's just how we grew up. And so I grew up in that frame of thinking, and being a chef as well, like becoming a chef, and being someone who's worked, since she's very, very young. I definitely believe that was the case, that to show tiredness was a form of weakness, like to show my body's vulnerabilities. Well, it's not even vulnerable. It's just what the body needs to do. Because every night, every 24-hour cycle, and remember this, your body works on a 24-hour clock. And the only way that your brain knows what time of day it is in that 24-hour cycle is by the type of light that comes in through the eyes. So the light in the morning light is different from evening light or light at dusk to day light, like midday lunchtime light. It's all different. The brain can determine what time of day it is based on the light that's coming in through the eyes. Now, unfortunately, we no longer run by the natural light, as being our indicator of what time of day it is, because let's be honest, me included, we all live under, under false lighting, under artificial lighting, and right now the lighting I have in my office, by the way, I've got a light in front of me that makes me feel like quite shiny. So I've got a light in front of me. I've got a light onto the side of me. Actually, that's a really nice lamp that I've got onto the side of me. But I've got stark overhead lights that you would expect to find in an office situation, recessed into the ceiling. So as far as my brain is concerned, the light is directly above me, which means it's lunchtime. It's actually not. It's just gone, 20 minutes to 10. But this is what my brain is believing based on the type of light, which is directly over my head, which is normally where the sun is at midday, right? So we live in these artificial conditions. And because we live in such artificial conditions, it really messes with our sleep. Like, seriously. What artificial light. And then let's not forget what has become the more problematic artificial light that we now have. And that is the light that I have coming from my screens. I've got a multi-screen setup in front of me that you guys can't see, right? So I've got screens everywhere, which is my office situation. And because I have these screens coming at me, the type of light that comes off our screens, which probably a lot of you are aware of, is known as blue light. And blue light, again, confuses the brain. The brain thinks it is daytime all the time, because what are we constantly looking at? Right? We're constantly looking at our screens, whether it's a screen on a phone. Do you guys like that? Look at that. That is actually me paddling in Hawaii. I took that photo. Can you guys see? That is me paddling in Hawaii. It's gone off, but that's me paddling in Hawaii. Beautiful natural light there. But yeah, my phone's always with me. For many people, your phone's the last thing you see at night. Even if you're sleeping next to your partner, it's still the last thing you see at night, right? Kiss your phone before you go to bed instead of kissing your partner. Our screens in the last decade, because of the insane addiction quality of a smartphone, right? They are as an addictive quality of a smartphone. Our screens have now taken over the artificial light that you're getting from, your lights in your house, because that's usually the last thing that people see before they try and go to sleep at night. So we've got this epidemic of poor sleepers now, with a lot of that being connected to our addiction to our screens. And with that addiction and that blue light that's constantly coming out of our screens, whether it be your TV, your TV's a screen. If you've got a TV in your bedroom, this is problematic as well, right? So whether it's coming from your TV, your laptop, your iPad, your tablet, your phone, your desktop, whatever it is, whatever screen you are consuming your information from, your entertainment from, that screen is giving off artificial light, and the brain has no idea what time of day it actually is. So we live in these artificial conditions. And because that screen time is actually not getting better, it's getting worse, we are facing a population of people who just aren't getting enough sleep. I'm not even going to mention kids, right? And teenagers on their smart devices and how their addiction in many cases is worse than ours, just because they grew up with their smart devices. They've not known a world without a smartphone or a desktop computer or a flat screen TV in their room, right? This is how they've grown up. They're native to the internet. They're native to these screens. So we've got this, really underslept population. And then, and then you combine screen time, which is for some people all the time. You combine that artificial light conditions that we live in. We're not spending as much time outdoors. We're not getting as much movement in as we used to because we spend all this time indoors in front of our screens, et cetera, et cetera. And then you combine that with the massive problem we face when it comes to stress management. Because the other thing that's going to disrupt your sleep, the other main thing that's going to disrupt your sleep, aside from this huge problem we have with the light, with artificial light coming in through our screens or through our artificial light conditions in our homes and in our offices, and working all the hours that we possibly can work and still believing in that mantra, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And then you combine that with stress. We have, like I said, an epidemic of underslept population, and it's only getting worse. So when we consider how poorly we are sleeping as a society, and just how important sleep is to every single thing that happens in our body, in our environment, when we are awake, even when we are asleep, there's important mechanisms and processes happening in the body, right? Even when we are getting that little bit of sleep that we can, if that sleep isn't quality sleep, what we're experiencing now, the problems that we're experiencing in society now, if you're thinking like, people seem to be more stressed. They seem to be losing the plot faster. There seems to be more aggression. There seems to be just a different change. There's a change in society to what we're seeing what we're seeing in public, what we see online, what we see people capturing. People getting like, I saw this thing on yesterday. Yeah, I was watching a screen. It was on TV, and it was just a random video on the news, on a news item that I saw, of the increase of people walking into supermarkets and walking out with trolleys full of food that they have just stolen, like literally filling their trolley full of food and then just walking out with that trolley. And this is getting a lot more, it's becoming a lot more common. That it's almost like it's so brazen. And that what they actually showed, one of the articles they showed was two females, younger females, like probably, I would say, very early 20s, with a trolley that was overflowing with just, full of groceries. And they got stopped by the security guard. He just stopped. He just grabbed on the way out, because you've got to have security guards, obviously, on the supermarkets now, because people are walking out with trolley and baskets full of food. So they were stopped by the security guard, who grabbed onto the trolley, and he was a bit bigger than them. So they were trying to wrestle it off him. So instead, they just picked up a couple of chocolate bars from what they had just attempted to steal, and they slapped the security guard across the face with these chocolate bars and laughed, and swore and carried on, and then just walked out of the store. And he was not allowed to do anything, obviously. So he just held onto the trolley, accepted the chocolate slap, and I don't know what happened after that. But it was just kind of it got me thinking about just what people are okay with doing now compared with 10 years ago, compared with 20 years ago. And look, I know that this is all tied up into so much more than, oh, it can't be just because they're tired. But it can be like decision making is not as good as it used to be, our decision making processing. And yes, of course, there is like just the cost of living has gone up so dramatically in the last decade as well. But just the brazen nature of some of the things that we're seeing, some of the things that we're experiencing, some of the breakdown in society and behavioral norms that are no longer normal, things that we just appreciate may have happened 10, 20, 30 years ago are no longer happening. The society is changing in a way that it's not a good way that we see it changing. And those 6 really important pillars of personal health and how it relates to how we communicate with our environment, with the world, with people around us, with our decision-making processes. And so we know when it comes to, not looking after those key 6 towers, pillars of health that we talk about: nutrition, water, sleep, stress management, movement, and community. We know that when we look at those things, and if those things aren't a part of our importance to ourselves, how we start to see breakdowns in societal norms as well. And it blew me away. And I got to thinking about all of this. And I got to thinking about just what makes me mad or makes me lose my cool. And one of the key things that I will lose my cool every time, not every time, but most times, is and I'll make poor decisions, and I'll make decisions based on not logic and based on not me thinking it through, is when I'm tired, like when I'm exhausted. When I'm tired, I'm grumpy. Number one, I am. Who here can believe, who here can feel that when you are tired, you tend to just lose it a little bit faster or easier, right? You tend to have less tolerance for the norm, the everyday life. So that's the first thing. I'm tired, I'm grumpy, I'm moody. Like don't come at me with a problem, because you may not get a response that is well thought through on my end, because I'm tired. When I'm tired, I'm less likely to make good decisions for myself. Like I will do things like eat poorly. I will do things like, oh, you know what? I'll just have a glass of wine because I can't be bothered, doing it. I'm tired. I need it. I deserve it. Right. So I make really poorer decisions when I'm tired. When I'm exhausted, it's even worse. And so I kind of think of it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not a very nice person to be around when I'm not well slept. Like sleep deprivation is obviously a form of torture, as we know. Yet a lot of the sleep deprivation that's happening these days is self-inflicted, right? We're actually setting ourselves up, and it's self-inflicted from a space of not knowing. It's not self-inflicted because we're trying to do it. It's just because we don't really fully appreciate how much our body needs to shut down completely and deeply for at least 7.5 to 9 hours every night. That's what the average human needs, right? Average human body needs 7.5 to 9 hours a night. And many people in society now, especially our younger ones, having grown up natively with screens, especially our younger ones, but even us Gen Xers and even older generations who grew up with the I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality, we are sleep deprived, and a lot of it is self-inflicted. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that we don't put enough gravitas into the importance of sleep. So how can we get sleep on tap? Because we are such poor sleepers, it is having a huge impact on our health. I cannot understate the impact that poor sleep has on your health. Every night you're designed to shut down completely, right? To basically go into a coma. Through that coma-like, uh, moment or hours, not moment, but through that coma-like time, which is, if we kind of break it down, it's 1/3 of our life should be spent sleeping, right? Because it's 7.5 to 9 hours. Let's just go 8 hours just to make it, to make it sort of a convenient number, is that 8 hours. And so many of us don't get it every night. So many of us don't appreciate it every night. So when you go to sleep, your body not only gets ready for the day that's coming, but it's a recharge of the batteries. It's a reset of what's happened throughout that day. It is also a recovery from what's happened that day as well. So you're recovering from the day that was, and you're recharging your literal batteries. Remember, every cell in your body has that mitochondria center, that energy battery charge in the middle of it. So you're recharging your batteries. You're resetting organs, you're resetting your digestive system, you're relaxing, you're giving your brain the opportunity to have a clean out every night. That's what the brain does during deep sleep, is it actually goes through a deep cleaning cycle. And if you're not getting at least that medium range of 8 hours of sleep a night, you're sleep deprived every single day. So what are your chances of making good decisions? Well, it's a lot less. What are your chances of not being moody, grumpy? And I'm not going to say you're going to run into a supermarket and slap a security guard with chocolate bars when they stop you from removing a trolley full of food. But it just got me thinking. I went down this rabbit hole of thought process of the type of behavior, the type of I don't want to say unfriendliness to our neighbors that we seem to have now. The type of conspiracies, the type of isolation tactics that we seem like. It's all kind of, for me, it comes together as this unhealthy way of living that we have just become. We've normalized. We really have normalized it. And so we've got these really sleep deprived people making really dumb decisions all around us. Could be your boss, could be your neighbor, could be the person that you see yell at someone on an airplane, could be the person that you see yell at someone in a parking spot, could be the person that you see deliberately not pick up their dog poo. I don't know, but we're making some pretty terrible decisions. And some of the behaviors that we're seeing now are shocking, because we're normalizing a society that are walking around like literal zombies. No wonder zombie apocalyptic type shows are so popular. Is because we are walking around like zombies, not looking after our nutrition, not drinking enough actual water, and living on soda and energy drinks and Gatorade and alcohol, and not sleeping enough, not managing stress, not moving at all because we're just behind our screens in our homes, and not having a sense of community, a sense of neighborhood, a sense of behaving how you would want to be treated. We've lost these things. So how can you get sleep on tap? How can you overcome this? Well, one of the things is, let's be honest, we've got to lessen our screen time, don't we? We've got to lessen our screen time. We've got to put our screens where they belong to be. For someone who didn't grow up with a smartphone, I can tell you it's really hard. I can tell you that I have an addiction to my phone. My phone's always near me. Whether I'm on it or not, I do try and stay off it as often as possible. And I do feel a bit guilty about it sometimes, which is really bad, right? That's the addiction kicking in. But I do spend way too much time on my phone. I like to say it's work related, but I often find myself just mindlessly scrolling through stuff, and then half an hour's gone past, and I've gone, oh my God, I really could have spent that time a lot more productively. So, there is obviously that we need to deal with, and it needs to be intentional putting down of or turning off of our screens because we spend too much time on it. But there's also that stress management side of things, and how managing just the day-to-day stress can be stressful in itself. And how can we get this deep sleep on tap? Because I went from being a poor sleeper, very unhealthy, 12, I'll be in bed for 12 hours and I'd get out of bed 12 hours later, I was exhausted, making really bad decisions for my body, for my family, for my community, for me in general. And, went from being a poor sleeper to being an okay sleeper. And then I went back to being a poor sleeper again. And that had a lot to do with stress. And there's a lot of things that happened even this year alone that I went from being an okay sleeper to just being the worst sleeper and being sleep deprived every single day. And in being sleep deprived, making some not great decisions for me. And I'm just going back months. I'm not going back years. I'm going back months. Like this year, 2025 has been tough. And it would frustrate me and would stress me out that I wasn't sleeping. And knowing what I know about cortisol and stress is that cortisol is the hormone responsible for waking you up. So if you're spending your time being stressed out about not sleeping, you're actually increasing your cortisol level, which will increase your inability to get a decent night's sleep. So I was almost to the point of going a bit doolally because I was so sleep deprived and stressing out that I was stressing out. Vicious circle, right? Vicious circle. And, doing a bit more self-medicating that I would normally do. Like I'm definitely not someone who advocates for melatonin supplementation because very much like other synthetic hormones, if you are putting a synthetic hormone into your body will stop producing that hormone because your body's clever. Melatonin is a classic example of that. Melatonin is a natural hormone that we produce in order to make us sleepy. When we start artificially supplementing with that hormone, our body will stop producing it. And so, unfortunately, long-term melatonin use can have quite a detrimental effect on your ability to naturally produce melatonin. So that's what I don't advocate for melatonin supplementation, especially if it's long-term. And it's something, if you're someone who is long-term melatonin supplementation, we need to work out how we can get that dependency down in your body and that you start to produce your own. So along came a little something a couple of months ago that literally changed everything. It revolutionized for me personally, and now that I have spoken to literally hundreds of people about it, I've spoken to hundreds of people about this. What I am, of course, talking about is something that we introduced into our audience not long ago. You guys know what I'm going to say, right? You know what I'm going to say. This syrup came into my life a couple months ago. I'd already done the research on the potential impact that positive impact could have on various mechanisms in the body. But one of the ones that kind of went under the radar for me a little bit was how it might impact my sleep. Now, we know that Boost Protocol is an impressive way to improve your gut microbiome. So the bacteria that call you home. It specifically targets a couple of different bacteria whose role are quite significant within the gut microbiome. So these two particular bacteria and I won't give you their scientific names, but we're just going to call them BIF because easy. Biff and lac. Biff and lac, these two specific bacterias. I've given them names. I've already can see the cartoon in my mind. Biff and lac. These particular bacteria, when they are prolific in the gut, they will have a very profound impact on our mood regulation, how we manage cortisol, how we manage stress. They will have a profound impact on how they clean up inflammation in the gut lining. They're very important for that. They will also improve our body's immune system. They will improve our body's ability to fat burn. So they are on their own. They're really important bacteria. And that's one of the things that Boost Protocol will impact is they will improve the beneficial growth of Biff and lac, these two bacteria, which are just so good to have in our body. And we want to have a lot of them. That's what Boost Protocol does, right? That's what this prebiotic syrup does. Encourages the growth of these really important bacteria. But the other thing that Boost Protocol does is it encourages a certain chemical to be released into our body, and this chemical is known as GABA. And GABA is literally, I love this, you guys are going to love this too. GABA is literally the type of chemical that is almost like your brain's calm down chemical. It is the chemical that brings the temperature down, as in it lowers the alertness. It makes us sleepy. So it feeds the gut bacteria that produce GABA in your body, and GABA is the thing that calms you down. You go from being high, like alertness, into dropping down into that, and now I'm kind of feeling a bit drowsy. I've calmed down. Things are a little bit cooler, a little bit more chilled out. You start to feel a little less alert. It's really important that you produce GABA. When people don't have good gut health, we don't produce GABA. We don't produce that calm down hormone responsible for just putting us into the next stage, our brain waves into the next stage of calming down, getting us ready for bed. So GABA's job is to calm us down. And when we are calming down, this is when the body starts its natural production of melatonin. And what our prebiotic fiber, our Boost Protocol has shown, and that's why I love the science, is that within as little as 3 days, our ability to produce melatonin naturally goes up by over 30%. Yeah, within 3 days. Because you're producing good quality GABA. And for some people that have a really unhealthy gut, they have a really unhealthy approach to their diet, they have a really unhealthy approach to stress management, right? And they're not producing GABA, they're not producing that brain's calm down chemical, that you go from being alert like I'm right now. I'm definitely not in GABA. I'm definitely alert. You go from being here and you go down and you lower the temperature and you start to get a little bit calm and a little bit sleepy. And if you don't lower the temperature, your body does not produce melatonin. It's one of the reasons screens are so dangerous. Your brain won't produce melatonin if GABA isn't being produced for a start. GABA isn't in there. GABA won't be in there if your brain thinks it's the middle of the day. GABA won't be in there if your gut is not producing it. And unfortunately, one of the side effects of stress, one of the side effects of screens, one of the side effects of artificial light is your body does not produce GABA. Boost Protocol encourages your body to produce GABA. And that's why so many people are noticing within days of starting to take Boost Protocol that their falling asleep faster, quicker. They're actually producing what their body needs. They're producing GABA, which means they're producing melatonin. Melatonin is that hormone responsible for putting you to sleep. And for the majority of people that are insomniacs, for the majority of people that struggle to go to sleep, they don't produce enough GABA, so they're not producing melatonin. Boost Protocol does this naturally, and it's a syrup, and it tastes delicious. And it's one of the reasons why I'm going to share with you guys the doses, how to dose to for sleep, because there is a guide for dosing for sleep. I'm going to share that with you guys as well. But we are talking about producing GABA and naturally producing melatonin. And like I said, if you are melatonin supplement or pill dependent, you want to teach your body, reset your hormones. Because remember, melatonin's a hormone. You want to reset your hormones. Boost Protocol will help you reset your sleep hormone naturally, deliciously. And while it's doing it, it's also doing things like balancing out cortisol, balancing out another hormone. And yes, cortisol is responsible for waking you up. So if you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're just lying there and going, don't know why I'm awake. It's not a sound that's woken you up. You've just gotten into a habit of that the witching hour. You're waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You're wondering what the heck's going on. Right? Cortisol is the hormone responsible for waking you up. If melatonin is the hormone responsible for putting you to sleep, cortisol is the hormone responsible for waking you up. So the other thing that Boost Protocol does is, firstly, as we know, it helps the body to produce GABA. GABA then helps and boosts the body's natural melatonin production by over 30% in about 3 days. Right? That's what the science is telling us. For many people who have experienced it, you're going, that tracks with what I've experienced. It definitely tracks with what I've personally experienced. But the science is telling us as well. Now, the other way that Boost Protocol helps is it helps to balance our stress hormone, our cortisol. When your cortisol is out of control, whether it's a stressful life, whether it's something like alcohol, which will also imbalance cortisol, whether it's, your cortisol has been a little bit haywire for a while, right? So you're living on stress or you're under a lot of stress. Boost Protocol will help to balance out that hormone. And the way that it does it is how those two bacteria, remember Biff and Lac, those two bacteria that you want to live inside you, you want them. And I like to think of Biff like he's quite bulky and he's in there and he's doing the job, right? He's getting the work done, she. And then you've got Lac who's, there as well doing an amazing job. And part of their job is to produce what is known, or to encourage the release of what is known as short-chain fatty acids, particularly one type of short-chain fatty acid. I'm going to introduce another really good friend to the gut to you guys. We've got Biff and we've got Lac and we've got another one called Bute. Bute's pretty good as well. And Bute's job is to go along and almost act like a vacuum cleaner and hoover up, vacuum up all of the inflammation that is in the gut lining. So it's going along and Bute's job is to do all the hoovering. So you got Bute hoovering up all the inflammation. And we've got Bute hoovering up all that amazing inflammation. You go from having an angry gut where stress takes hold and cortisol thrives and screams at you, wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's what cortisol does. It wakes you up for no reason at all, to having a more balanced approach, because that gut inflammation is calming down. The gut is calmer. We don't have cortisol being able to thrive, because cortisol thrives in an inflammatory, stressful environment, because it is stress, right? That's what it thrives in. You work to get rid of that inflammation, right? You are then quieting down the gut. Remember, the gut talks to the brain and the brain talks to the gut. So you've got more of a balanced gut approach, a balanced and more anti-inflammatory. So a really nice, calm gut lining, which means we don't get these hormones thriving in this negative environment. So you've got that working in your favor as well. You've got your GABA and your melatonin working better. You've got your stress, cortisol being more balanced, more in control. So you've got these two really fundamental things working in your favor. So not only do we find with Boost Protocol that we are able to fall asleep faster, but that sleep is also more restorative. That sleep is also deeper. And when we are in a deep sleep cycle, this is where we get the most reset and the most healing happening. So, I talked about earlier, like when you go to sleep, one of the nightly cycles that should be happening during that 24-hour gap. Remember that 24-hour clock that we all live on 24 hours? That's how our bodies are designed. Our brains work that way. Is during that deep sleep portion of sleep, also known as our delta sleep. This is when you're in a really deep sleep. What happens during that deep sleep is one of the most important cycles. And this is where you're up through your spinal column, you get a fluid coming up. This is known as your cerebral fluid, comes up through your spine, and it literally goes up into your brain, and it washes over your brain. And as it flushes back down, your cerebral wash, right? This should happen on a nightly cycle. As it washes back down, it takes with it any daily inflammatory buildup. And every day you will get inflammatory buildup of the brain because the brain works so hard, right? It's just what happens. And so every night, every 24 hours, your brain needs to have a wash. And it does it naturally, and it comes back down. But this only happens during a very deep sleep state, through your delta sleep wave. Here's the problem. Most people don't get deep sleep at all. They go through fits of light sleep stages throughout the entire night. That's why they're waking up at the smallest thing, or they're lying there at 2:00 in the morning, and you're not ever getting into that deep wave, deep sleep, delta moment, and your brain is not getting that daily wash happening. And just like our bodies, just like our clothes, just like our car, just like the floor in our homes, if we don't clean it regularly, build up, as we know, and dirt collects and accumulates until it's really unpleasant, right? If you didn't wash your body, for a year, it would be very unpleasant buildup in certain places that we shall not mention. But it's true, right? We need to wash things often. And we also need to be able to giving our brain that wash, that cerebral wash needs to happen. And for our brain, that is one of the hardest working organs, obviously apart from the heart, one of the hardest working organs, never shuts down. The brain never stops. It's always doing stuff, right? It needs to be cleaned out regularly, ideally every night through this deep sleep state, but we're not getting it. Well, Boost Protocol helps us to get into that deep state because GABA, because natural melatonin. And that's the thing about artificial melatonin, it's never as good as the natural stuff. So you may think you're in a deep sleep, but you're actually not. You're just conked. You're just out to town. Out the monkey, as my grandmother used to say. He's out. If you're asleep, they'll be like, he's out the monkey. As a family, we still don't know where she got this from, but it's the cutest thing ever. Where's Grandpa? Oh, he's out the monkey. That's what she'd always say. He's out the monkey. But that sleep, right? You're never quite out the monkey. But Boost Protocol, because it's naturally encouraging it through the natural production, natural improvement of gut bacteria, means that you're getting GABA, means that you're getting natural melatonin, means that you're getting a balance in cortisol, right? Your sleep hormones. It's resetting your sleep hormones. Going from angry gut to calm and happy gut. which means not only are you falling asleep, but it's putting you into a deep sleep state. And for a lot of people, they haven't been there for a long time. So I get comments and feedback about best sleep of our lives. Is anyone here on the comments? Can they say that? I can tell you from firsthand, very recent experience that last night's sleep, I didn't wake up once. Not even once. I slept through the night. I may have rolled over. I'm pretty sure I did. Didn't wake up with a dead arm. So I must have rolled over at some stage. I didn't wake up once. And yes, I do share the bed with someone else, right? And sometimes they wake me up. Not going to say how, but they do. Well, I did not wake up once. And when I did wake up, I woke up before my alarm. So I was awake. I think it was like 5:15. I woke up, just naturally woke up and went, oh, wow. Like, it's unheard of what I'm experiencing now. When I just think back a few short months ago, I was in tears when I considered how poorly my sleep was going. I was in tears. I was so frustrated. I was angry. I was stressed out. I was making poor decisions. I was exhausted. I was tired. I was all the things. One thing has changed for me. One thing has changed. And that is I started taking Boost Protocol. And that sleep, to know that you can go to sleep and just sleep. I don't even want to say like a baby, because babies wake up. I'm sleeping like a grown up. I'm sleeping like my cat, not a care in the world. You know, she'll sleep in the middle of the hallway. She don't care. We just walk around it. She doesn't wake up. She didn't care. She just sleep. I'm sleeping like my cat, like not a care in the world. And it is wonderful. And my body is proof of the fact that I'm making really good decisions for me. I'm making really good decisions for my daily nutritional intake. I'm making good decisions about how I start my day. I'm making good decisions even through the most basic of things. Like today, I've got a couple of meetings happening on a little bit later on. After those meetings, I'm going off to play pickleball. Like, I'm making really good decisions, better decisions than I've made all year. And one thing changed after having a really false start to the year. Not false, but a really, really, really stressful start to the year, like unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life so far. And the turnaround that I've experienced, and the consistency that I continue to make towards my health. I could have completely fallen off the wagon. Like, so much happened in the space of just a month or 6 weeks. I could have completely fallen off the wagon. But instead, I'm in a better position, better place now than I have ever been, ever, in the last 9 years of doing this. And one thing has changed, and that is Boost Protocol. So that simple thing alone, when it comes to sleep, I mean, I haven't even talked to you guys about how Boost Protocol, you will actually burn fat more efficiently while you sleep thanks to Boost Protocol. I know. That's why I'm going to give you guys a dosage for nighttime sleeping, because we're talking about burning fat while we sleep more efficiently. And yes, there is some science behind it, right? One of the ways that Boost Protocol will actually help you to burn fat as you sleep is because Boost Protocol will keep your insulin levels low throughout the night. And not only will you keep your insulin levels low throughout the night, and we spoke about this last week in terms of, remember how I was saying even earlier on today, how every cell in your body, and you are made up of trillions of cells, every cell in your body has a energy center, like its little power pack, and that is known as your mitochondria. Well, Boost Protocol, because of its incredibly profound, and I love using that word because it is profound, because we are having profound results. We're not just kind of like, oh yeah, it's not bad, yeah, I'll sleep a bit better. I'm just like, I'm having the best sleep of my life ever. Like to go to sleep and to know that my brain had a clean because I got into deep sleep. Oh, so here's something, right? One of the lovely ladies that came to our brunch on Saturday, she shared, because she was sitting next to me, she shared a picture, and I know she's on this call too. If you can, Sandra, if you can share it in the comments, your image. I think you can share images in the comments. I'm not sure if you can. I think you can. If you can share that image that you shared with me on Saturday, she shared with me her sleep app, what she experienced the night before. Like, you can get a sleep score, and she shared with me her sleep app and her sleep score. And I'm not joking. She's on this call. If she can work out how to share share her picture that she shared with me, I'd love her to share that with you. Her sleep app had her sleep score for the previous night was on 100. 100. That's the number. That's it. That is 100%. And I have people regularly sharing me. They're like, I used to get 60 and now I regularly hit the 90s. The 90s, from going from 60%. Okay. 60% is sleep deprivation, by the way. Right? That's not great. And now people are sharing me their sleep apps and their data from their wearables, saying, I got 90%. I regularly hit 90%. Like, it is incredible. So it's profound. And I'm going to use that word because it is, because I feel, just based on my results alone, that I can tell you that I feel it has made a profound difference into the way that I sleep. And these are the science behind it. But when it comes to fat burning, those mitochondria cells, your energy cells, right? They actually power up again, recharge throughout the night. So when you do wake up, you're not only feeling more energetic, which I absolutely am, going to go play pickleball in a couple of hours. Going to try to play pickleball in a couple of hours. Weather's so nice. How could you not? So beautiful. Got to get out. Apparently it's going to rain towards the end of the week, so I want to get into it now. But also, we're getting that energy burning. You're burning energy while you sleep. So you're burning calories, which are energy, while you're sleeping. More calories than if you didn't take something that's going to power up your mitochondria, power up those energy cells, keep your insulin low throughout the night as well. Burning fat, not sugar, and even doing it while you sleep. So fat burning potential, tick. Right? Tick. Melatonin production, tick. Reduction of gut inflammation, tick. Stress hormone, sleep hormone balance, tick. Profound improvements on sleep. All right, so how do you dose? The $1 million question. How do you dose? Well, firstly, you've got to get Boost Protocol. I'm shameless about it, completely shameless, by saying to you how awesome it is. I'm shameless. I get now, I talk about that little addiction I have with my phone. I have that with my Boost Protocol too. Got to have my jar. Got to have my jar with me, right? Got to have my jar. I've got a jar in the bathroom so that I have it before I brush my teeth, because I want to make sure that my nighttime ritual, right? Brush my teeth before I jump into bed. I have my Boost Protocol now. Part of my nighttime ritual now is have my Boost Protocol. So you want to have it as close as you can to sleep. Because remember what it starts to do? It starts to produce that GABA. Remember what that GABA does? That GABA makes you produce melatonin. So it will actually help with that moment. So you could take it, even up to an hour before you sleep. I've never really had a problem with falling asleep. So for me, taking it just before I jump into bed kind of works for me. But if you do struggle with falling asleep, give it a good hour before you go to bed. Have your Boost Protocol. Now, how much should you have? So I take a teaspoon. I take 5 grams before I go to sleep. But in saying that, I also take it throughout the day as well. So my total dose for the day is 20 grams of Boost Protocol, which is at the high end. So I take it in the morning. I then take it when I break my fast. Well, basically, I have it with we'll have it when I break my fast. And then I will also usually have it at lunchtime as well. And then I have it at night. So I have four different doses a day. Now, should you take more than that? No, you shouldn't. That's kind of, like I said, that's at the upper limit because I take it also throughout the day. If you really wanted to focus on sleep and sleep alone, and you were pretty happy with other elements and you wanted to really see if it worked for sleep, you could take 2 teaspoons before bed, like an hour before bed, but then you wouldn't take, 3 teaspoons during the day. So you've still got to remember that 4 teaspoon, dose is kind of the upper limit of the amount of prebiotic fiber you should be having in a day. So if you were really wanting to target your sleep, if sleep is really problematic for you, you could take 2 teaspoons or 10 grams about an hour before bed, but make sure that you're having no more than 2 teaspoons during the day. So you're at that upper limit of 4 teaspoons a day, right? So that's kind of what you could do as well. Me personally, like I said, I've found that I've had a real improvement with 1 teaspoon before bed. But I know that if I was a person who struggled to fall asleep, I would take it maybe about an hour before bed to really give that GABA time to do its job. Because you've got to give melatonin time to work. It's not like you're going to have it and you're going to go straight to sleep, right? It's actually got to be combined with those other elements that we talk about, which is like your bedtime routine, which is the reduction of those artificial lights. So make sure you're dimming your screens. Because even if you take Boost Protocol and you sit there on your phone or you're playing games, or the worst thing that you can do, by the way, I'm going to growl anyone who plays games before they go to bed. Way to alert your brain, way to wake yourself up. Sit there playing Sudoku. I mean, come on, guys, let's be serious. So if you are on your phone, you're still going to struggle to fall asleep because you've got GABA trying to work for you, and then you've got your addiction to your screen working against you. So you've still got to do the things that you know are going to help to naturally improve your sleep as well. But profound. Like I said, I am not at all shy about coming forward. And for me, total shameless, because there is no shame in promoting something that I know has improved already some people's lives in some pretty impactful ways. Look, it's even Debbie's asking Sandra to take a screenshot of it. So, if you just take Boost Protocol on its own, and like I said, and then you don't do any of the other things, it could still be a struggle for you. I'm not going to say it's going to work in isolation, but does it work in combination? Oh my heck, does it work in combination? But please do not think that you can completely forego the other elements of a healthy sleep routine and just take Boost Protocol on its own. Boost Protocol will give you the boost. Hence why I call it Boost Protocol. Hence why I call it Boost Camp, because you've still got to do the other things that we know is part of a healthy, holistic approach to our bodies, to our environment, to the way that we communicate with the world, to the way that we communicate with ourselves. And I will continue to sing its praises because I know it works. I will continue to share the science with you guys because it's important to know how it works, because it works. I mean, some people are just like, oh, good, you said it works, I'm just going to believe you. But I just want to make sure that you guys know there is science behind it as well. Really, really good, impressive science behind it. So thank you for joining me today, everybody. Thank you for joining me. It has been a wonderful chat with you guys, as always. A nice way to start our working week. Again, to everyone who joined me in Brisbane, I've had such a great weekend with you guys, or a couple of hours with you guys. To anyone who is curious about all these things that we talk about. Come and join us in our private community, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, which is a community. Just want to remind everyone, if you're going there looking for recipes, just use the search function and put in recipes and they will pop up. I do have free recipes on that page, but that's actually a community page as well. And we just talk on there. There's a place for community, but we do have recipes there. But come and join us in our private community. Ask your questions. The community is there to help and guide you. And we want to make sure also that you're getting the right information for you as well. So have a fabulous day, everyone. And I will continue to share all this great information with you guys here, there, and everywhere I can and will be doing it. So, any questions, jump into our BHK family community, join our community, share, ask. We're there to support you in any way that we can. Have a great day today. Don't forget, if you do subscribe to Boost Protocol, you just might win yourself a wonderful trip. We are giving away a trip to Thailand worth $25,000. We are giving that away. It's going to be drawn in a couple of weeks' time. So hopefully you can subscribe to Boost Protocol and then enter our competition. And you could see yourself jetting away to this. I wonder if I'm going to put up the right one. Here it is. Assisted checkout. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you guys all really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.